Good evening and welcome to Tuesday Folk People. My name is Maddie Leadham and this evening we're going to be talking to a musician and very gifted singer-songwriter based in Cambridgeshire. Having worked his way up through the often gruelling music industry, this musician won the Lichfield Folk Festival Songwriting Competition in 2019. He's supported the likes of Peter Knight's Gig Spanner, Trials of Cato, Brooks Williams, Ange Hardy, Granny's Attic, Jim Moray and Sean Lakeman Katherine Roberts, and has played in venues from Dorset to the Western Isles, including performing at the Den at Cambridge Folk Festival in 2019. A modern-day troubadour, his is a tale of perseverance and talent. It brings me great pleasure to welcome Chris Fox to our online studio. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. In case our audience don't know, well, they won't know, but I actually saw Chris very recently in person at Manchester Folk Festival.
Yeah, I was on the trade fair doing my Del Boy and Rodney routine with my guitars and stuff. Yeah,
classic promotion stuff, but just music business meeting up.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
It's good to see you.
lovely.
Did you have a good time?
I had a fantastic time. Yeah, we were really nervous going in because we've never done a trade fair before. And but then after about 10 minutes of it starting, I thought, oh, this is a great idea. Like, we've met so many people in the first 15 minutes. It seemed like, why haven't I been coming to this for years? I don't know. Yeah.
I know. It's just all folk people in one place.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Around all the unicorns, it's quite difficult.
It's like a promotion here for trade fairs. So I think we need some royalties coming in from all future trade fairs.
Yeah. I'll get the logo like here or something.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think we should have your first song, which is called Perfectly Normal. Can you tell us what this song is about before we hear it?
But it's yeah, absolutely. So this is I wrote this for a friend of mine who's had a kind of on again, off again struggle with weight loss. They go from being like really overweight to really underweight, and they struggle to find that kind of middle ground. And we were out one day. I go out with this friend and we exercise together, and we were out just up in the woods, nearby where I live. And we were joking around about the TV program Love Island and how fun it would be to get a couple of guys like us on there, like regular Joes by the pool in our Speedos and stuff. And then my friend made this throwaway comment and they said, oh, I'm too disgusting to go on a program like that. And it really cut me. And I thought, oh, don't say that about yourself. And I said, you're not disgusting. You're perfectly normal. And my friend kind of shot me a look as if to say, like, Chris, I'm not sure if that's a compliment. And it is a compliment. And I put it in a song for them. And yeah, as a musician, I rarely have any money to buy people gifts at Christmas. So I always wind up writing people songs instead of going out and buying them presents and stuff. So,
better than a gift.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it's all about. It's just for anybody that struggles with their appearance, which I think we all do at some time or other. So, yeah. I think that you're perfect, just the way that you are. Think you're magnificent, from up close or from afar. So don't change your hair for me. You're in champion form. I think you're perfectly normal. I think you look dapper in second-hand suits. I don't mind the second-hand smell or those second-hand boots. You'll never impress me in Calvin Klein jeans. You're already complete. I think you're so sexy. You came with all the right bits. You don't need those implants, nor a pair of fake lips. So save all your money, because life is the gift, and I completely adore you. Be strong beyond measure. Be a brave one, be a brute. Face down your enemies when they're staring back at you, and embrace your appearance. Swallow your pride. Take the world in your stride. I think that you're perfect, just the way that you are. Think you're magnificent, from up close or from afar. So don't change a hair for me. You're in champion form. I think you're perfectly normal. Don't change a hair for me. I like you just as you are.
What a beautiful song. Like, I think that with issues today with social media, it's such a common thing for people to feel terrible about the way they look. We've all been there. And the way that you've put that into words, it's just so direct and honest, and it kind of just, it made me feel something. And so it wasn't just a Christmas present for your friend, it was for everyone.
Yeah. Oh no, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah.
It's fantastic, because I was thinking about the songs that you write, and there's something about them that is just so fantastic. And I was trying to think about what it is, what's the quality that's different, that is captivating. And the only way that I could describe it was intricate simplicity, or something like that, in a way that it's complex, but it sounds so simple and so straightforward that it just penetrates the message straight across. And I just don't know how you do it. You know your secret?
I think it grew out of necessity, because when I first started playing, I was not playing to like folk club audiences. I was playing in bars and stuff where people were getting lashed up and having a good time and being loud, and I felt like there was this great void between me and the audience. It was like me and my microphone in this big pit, and then they were on the other side of it. And I was always trying to find ways to like at the risk of sounding corny, like lower the drawbridge and welcome them over. And I think I just found a way to sort of make the lyrics very simple and direct, and it helped kind of capture people's imaginations, rather than trying to write something really fancy and intricate, which is amazing if you can do it. But I think it was just I was really looking to communicate with people, and I thought I'm gonna make it much harder for myself if I don't kind of keep this sort of simple so everybody can understand. So it just grew out of a need, really. I was like, well, this isn't working. I'm going to have to change it. I'm trying to be too clever. Strip it down, and like, what's the actual message? And then the songs really started to grow then, because I had like an angle, and people were, gelling with it for the first time, which was amazing. So, yeah.
So it's like out of necessity, you became such a great storyteller.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say great, but yeah, I've definitely become a storyteller through necessity. And then also, as I started to take those songs, as I started writing like that, I kind of coincidentally found my way into folk clubs. I just stumbled into it by accident, and I thought, this is the place for me, because people are going to sit and listen, and they love a story here, So yeah, it just kind of happened. It just sort of kind of happened very organically. It wasn't something I was ever really driving for. It just needed to be that way, I think.
You've said to me before when we've spoken that it took a brush with the darker side of life to get you to be the songwriter that you are today, which I absolutely loved as a concept, just that brushing with the dark side of life. Great imagery. Could you explain a bit more about that, go into a bit more detail about why that made you who you are today?
You may have to give me some more context, because I feel like I've had many brushes with the darker side of life. What was that? What was it in reference to when I said it last time?
About your skills as a songwriter.
Okay.
And how you can write and not come across as cringy, and everything just seems so honest and truthful. And it was like, how are you able to write songs like this, and what has it taken to get you to where you are? And you said that it was a brush with the dark side of life that kind of started your songwriting almost. That
okay.
gave it what it
I think that might be in relation to in the early days when I was playing in bars and stuff, and I'd meet quite a lot of characters. I like give you an example of one guy I met who uh, I went in. I had writer's block. I'd had writer's block for like 3 months. I couldn't write anything, and I rang up a friend of mine. He said, "Look, don't worry. Let's get down the pub and we'll find you some inspiration." And we walked straight in, and there was a guy sat at the bar. He had on like tracksuit bottoms, a cowboy hat, and like a shirt that was kind of done up to about here. And in between, he was on what he called a brandy bender, and in between like death-defying gulps of brandy from a pint glass, he would just scream the name Annabelle into the ceiling. And I thought, so I walked in with writer's block and went, I could definitely write a song about this guy. So I went over to him and started chatting to him, trying to find out who she was, or what the story was about this, about this lady. And he was way too gone to kind of explain. So I just kind of held on to it and then waited for my own life to turn to crap, and then put the two things together and got a song about all of my sort of broken relationships. But it's come from like, I mean, I meet a lot of, for some reason I seem to meet a lot of people that have just not had the luck in life, have not had the breaks. There's a song on the album called The Little Brown Sparrow, which is about a young woman who I met that was living in the basement of a multi-story car park. She was homeless, and it was a very sad encounter, and it weighed on me very heavily. And I think I just felt like these are the things that upset me. Like, I've met that guy. It's a funny story, but he's clearly got an alcohol problem. And like, this woman is down there, and I've met her, and she's homeless, and she's asking me for money. And I really struggle with those kinds of interactions. Like, should I give money? Shouldn't I? Is it the right thing to do? How do you deal with the situation? And I think when I started writing about things like that really got to me, I instantly noticed that everybody else felt the same way. It was like you just were able to write this connection with people. Everybody's been asked for money by a homeless person, and I think everybody deals with it in a different way. So the song was really about the conversation, and that kind of got me on a track of thinking, what have I done that everybody else has done? What's commonplace but never gets talked about? And that's where a lot of the characters and the themes in the songs come forward, because we've all come across it, but how do we talk about it openly? It's that they're not subjects that people want to talk about in polite conversation. So yeah,
the importance of relatability in a songwriter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all very well. Like, I mean, I'm trying to finish an album at the moment. I'm sort of writing a lot of stuff about myself, but I'm looking at it and thinking, I don't think people are going to really know about some of these more specific personal things that I've been through. Whereas if you write about the price of food going up, everybody can relate to that, So I think it was just it was literally looking at the darker side of life. So looking at, some of the characters from the towns where I live, and, people that have just not had the luck and the breaks. And it was...
Wow. I think we can tell from your first song that there's definitely that relatability there. But then there's a thing for people who write about personal experiences, like you're saying on your latest album that you're trying to write, that maybe aren't relatable noticeably, but I'm sure there are people who, if you say something that you've gone through, they'll be like, oh my gosh, yeah, me too. And it's not either not a good thing or it's an unusual thing, but it's kind of human nature. So there's probably going to be people out there who can identify, and that might make it more poignant if it's slightly more specific.
Yeah. It's a very hard balance to get. Like, how personal should you be? Because I think I remember hearing someone like Joni Mitchell said, the more personal it is, the more people can connect. But I get very nervous about how far down that slope I want to go, and sort of, exactly what I'm going to go into detail about. I don't always know. So, yeah.
Well, I look forward to the new album coming out, and we can see.
So do
I can see.
I want it to be over. Driving me crazy.
Is it quite a long process?
It's just been so interrupted, like with COVID, and then kind of thinking, well, it's been a really long time, and I just need 2 more songs, and then it is on. I could get into the studio, but it's, like when the pressure's on and all of a sudden you can't do anything. It's So I will be. It will breathe a sigh of relief when I get to take it out on tour and not have to worry about what's going to be on the CD anymore. It'd be a great moment, I think.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think you need to start hanging out in a few more
I
bars.
do,
Maybe
yeah. I
just
need to get. Well, this is the thing. Like all of my songs are about the people that I meet, and I haven't been able to go out and meet anybody for ages. So just, yeah, to get my social life back up and cracking, and I'll be fine then. Yeah.
best of luck with it. But you've mentioned that you are a modern day troubadour.
Mm.
What are your reasons for this? Why do you see yourself as
Would
this?
you know, like this whole thing? Have you seen the Disney Robin Hood, where all the characters are animals, and Robin Hood and Ned Marion are foxes? And there's a rooster in the cartoon, and he's like the narrator of the story. But when I was a kid, I really loved. Everybody wanted to be Robin Hood, but I really wanted to be the rooster. I thought it'd be cool to just go around and kind of do everybody's stories and sort of give up the tune of the day, as it were. And I remember when I was a kid, I was in primary school, and one of the teachers said, "Oh, that's a troubadour. That's what folk singers used to be like years ago. That's how the news used to get spread around." And I just kind of like that was a very distinct memory from me growing up. I just held on to it. I thought, that's really interesting. And then when I was probably about 16 or 17, there was a whole new wave of like acoustic singer-songwriter guitarists coming through, so like Damon Rice and Ray LaMontagne. And I read again, I think it was in like NME magazine, that they were like the new troubadours. There was a big article, and I thought that's really something I would really like to do, is kind of go around and play my songs and share my ideas with people. I didn't actually start writing for another 10 years, but it yeah, that's kind of where it came from. So it started off as just like a boyhood ambition of thinking it'd be really cool to be like the musician on the playground kind of thing. And then it got some context, I guess, when I was about sort of in my teens, and yeah, so that's where it comes from.
Brilliant. Well, I've actually written in my notes that everything about your songs, I say it's like they've got a narrative voice.
Mm.
So that fits very well with the rooster there, the narrator. So it's
Yeah,
like the narrator of life.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so all the other kids wanted to be pop stars or footballers, and you wanted to be a rooster. I think
exactly.
that's
Yeah,
very
yeah,
nice.
yeah, yeah,
Okay. Should we go for your second song
definitely. Yeah.
now? We Sing Hooray. What is
This is one of my loop station songs that I play on stage. And it's so I've had like lots of little odd jobs while I've been a musician. I've done heaps of different stuff, and one of them was working in a call center selling double glazing insurance. And I stuck it for about 4 days. Well, I didn't stick it for about 4 days. I did it for 4 days, and I got the sack because I was doing like impressions of famous celebrities, calling people up, saying like, "So yeah, if you had like Arnold Schwarzenegger ringing you up, selling you double glazing insurance on a Tuesday afternoon, that was me." And I got sacked like the day after. Um, Yeah, but I hated the job, and it was terrible, and I think I probably torpedoed it for myself. But while I was working there, I had these recurrent dreams where I was at something called a recruitment fair, and it was like a big hall with lots of different tables, a little bit like Freshers Week, with all the different societies, but instead you had all different jobs. And I knew it was a dream because at the end of the hall, a big pirate ship had floated in on like dry ice, and it was full of all these pirates, and they were just about to sing their recruitment shanty. And like when I got sacked, I went home and I thought, well, I'm going to try and write that song. I'm going to try and write that pirate recruitment shanty. And at the time, I was messing with a lot of kind of like North African sounds on the loop station, and kind of like messing around with the idea of like Somalian pirates and that part of the world, I guess. And yeah, it just kind of poured out. It was one of those ones where like I had the idea, and then 10 minutes later it was finished, and I kind of went, what happened? Like, where did that even come from? And yeah, it's been a favorite of people's ever since. When I was at the trade fair, everybody came past saying, I've been told to come and listen to your pirate song, and I went, yeah, okay, it's here, it's on the laptop. They didn't want to meet me; they just wanted to hear that song. I was like, okay. sing hooray, 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 hooray. Come smugglers, come thieves, come men at large, I offer you great sanctuary with a life lit by the stars. Come villains and come fiends, and come those in toil, a better life awaits you, and with me you share the spoils. Now we sing hooray and up she rises, let out the sail, come draw the anchor from the ocean, good times prevail. It's hooray and up she rises, boys come to see, you share the bounty and the riches. If you join with me, we sing hooray, 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 hooray. A life of leisure awaits you, sign up your seat, come sail the compass point, smile at, and you live more than you need. Well, there's those who live life honestly, but you think you want more. Come see the proof of piracy by the bullion in my store. We sing hooray and up she rises, let out the sail, come draw the anchor from the ocean, good times prevail. It's hooray and up she rises, boys come to see, you share the bounty and the riches. If you join with me, we sing hooray, 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 hooray. Instead imagine this, now you return with gold and a handsome lass. Now tick those off your list. We sing hooray and up she rises, let out the sail, come draw the anchor from the ocean, good times prevail. It's hooray and up she rises, boys come to see, you share the bounty and the riches. If you join with me, we sing hooray, 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 hooray. It's hooray and up she rises, let out the sail, come draw the anchor from the ocean, let good times prevail. It's hooray and up she rises, boys come to see, you share the bounty and the riches. If you join with me, we sing hooray, hooray, hooray.
I think that you've all successfully turned us into pirates. Like, you're going to get loads of people signing up now. It's just amazing, and I love how you featured in recognizable shanties
Mm.
in there. I think it's such a clever approach. It's just
Oh,
brilliant.
thank you. Thank you. No, it is.
It's quite different though, isn't it, from your others? Obviously, with the use of
Mm.
the technology, it's different from the other two that we've got, three that we've got here
Yeah.
today with the loop pedal. But also, it's quite a different folk style, isn't it, to the one that you usually
Yeah,
go
absolutely.
for?
That kind of comes from the eclectic mix in my sets comes from, well, really my first introduction to folk clubs. I went to the Cambridge Folk Club open mic, and of course, because it was open mic, you had everybody like blues. Someone got up and did some clogging. Someone played the pipes. Someone did like shanties. You had Americana. It was just everything. And I walked in thinking, well, this is great. Like folk music means you can do whatever you want. I didn't realize that as they were all leaving, everybody was kind of bitching about how the other people didn't belong there. And they were like,
Oh,
I didn't realize that at the time. It was a couple of years later before I kind of found out that there was a lot of, niche ideas on the scene. But yeah, I've just been that was that song was a hard one because it didn't fit on the last album and it doesn't really fit on the next album. So what I've done is I've put it on my, if you sign up to my mailing list, you can get a free copy, and that's like been my way to share it with people, rather than trying to put it in an album where it just doesn't belong. So, but yeah, it is different. I'll give you that for sure. But it has a twin now. I've written a Viking song to go with it, so it has a partner. So yeah,
has that been released yet, or is that yet to come?
that's kind of in the final stages. So I'm just going to play it at a few more gigs and check, do people like it or do they think it's mad? And then if it kind of passes that test, then I'm definitely going to get into the studio and record it, and I'll put it out probably,
Okay,
yeah, probably just after Christmas or something. So yeah.
brilliant. So, if you were to choose any of the folk styles to identify with, obviously it's a huge umbrella term, folk, but you've got all the different traditions of different countries. Where would you most fit, do you think?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I just think of myself as like I think of myself primarily as a songwriter. I always wanted to be an artist as a kid and growing up, but it was like I could never quite find the medium. And I tried loads of stuff. I was a magician and a juggler, and I had to go at photography and filmmaking. And then when I found songwriting, this is how I want to express myself. But I've never been too bothered about the music I use to underpin the story. It just has to fit. It just has to fit the context. So I think I would just think of myself mostly as a storyteller, just a story songwriter, and who's happy to kind of use a lot of different styles and influences to put the ideas across. It's like the vessel for the idea, really, rather than the genre that I play in.
Well, the next song that we're going to play in a bit, we've still got a little bit more talking to
Mm,
do, but I'm Still in Love with You, and that really makes me feel like it's kind of an Americana
yeah.
style. Is that quite common in your music to be a bit more
I
Americana?
would say so, yeah. I think a lot of the music I grew up listening to comes from the States. We had a lot of country music, a lot of like soul, a lot of Americana and like American folk music. And yeah, I think that's probably more my leaning. It was watching C6 Steve that got me back into wanting to write again after like a 10-year hiatus. So yeah, I'd say that's probably more my thing.
Yeah.
Americana for sure.
Because what absolutely fascinates me is that you'll sing a song like I'm Still in Love with You that sounds very Americana, but you've got such a British accent that it's just an amazing like blend.
Yeah,
And I don't know how you maintain that accent, because if I was to sing a song that sounds like it should be American, I really struggle to
yeah.
not go into an American accent. Is that ever a challenge for
It was
you?
in the beginning, and then my mum started getting on at me about it and being like, "You can't sing an American accent because you're not an American." And every time I'd be practicing, she'd come in and she'd go, "No, too American. Stop it," and just kind of gradually beat it out of me. But it was something that I wanted to, yeah, it was something that I wanted to drop because I really enjoyed like the sort of the British accent. I mean, I definitely slip into American like sometimes, and it helps with like the rhymes and stuff. You can't always get it if you're doing it like an English person. Certain things don't work. I think it's enough British. It's like an overwhelming percentage that it kind of masks the rest of it up. But for certain in the beginning, because I'd grown up listening to like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, I just sounded like them. It was it really wasn't a very good blend for my music at all.
Yeah, I think it's just great. It gives you such an authenticity that's really important, and it's really appealing with your music. So thumbs up.
No, I appreciate that. It's nice to hear because it's something I do worry about. So yeah, thank you.
No, I think don't worry, don't worry. Um, Now you previously mentioned that you didn't grow up with folk, and you started off singing in bars and things,
Mm.
and then you discovered the folk scene. What was it about the folk scene that really brought you in and made you want to be part of it?
I think to begin with, it was just they were listening audiences and they liked the stories. They liked you to explain why you'd written the songs. And some of my songs, if you don't take the time to explain why or what you wrote them about, it's well, they just wouldn't make a lot of sense. That was something I was struggling with in the pubs. Is people were like, well, I can't get into this. If you're going to stand there and sing "Sex on Fire," it's easy. Everybody knows it. They love it. And then you try and play one of your own songs, and it's like, the pirate song, for example, people are like, I don't really.
Yeah,
It was that. It was the fact that you could cue it up for people and explain why, and you could have a laugh with them in between, and explain sort of like the funny reasons that I, choose to write the songs. And it was all about giving the work context. It sort of gave me a chance to explain this is why I'm doing it. And I think that was the only thing I was ever nervous about. I didn't mind about the fact that to begin with, I couldn't really sing in tune, or I couldn't sort of play the guitar very well or anything like that. I just wondered, are people going to think I'm a bit of a div for writing really weird songs that are not about anything they can relate to? So it was getting that opportunity to explain that just made me think this is perfect. I can
yeah.
totally, like, fit in here. And,
And what is it about you that makes the folk scene embrace you, do you think? What is it about your music?
well, I don't know if they don't always embrace me at first, because until they've come to a gig and maybe heard what I have to say, it gets sort of written off as like new folk or like contemporary folk, and kind of slips more into the acoustic genre. But then when I get to explain the context behind the songs, and but they're about contemporary issues. It's about what's happening in the now rather than what was happening. I mean, I really struggle to relate to more old-fashioned things. Like when people sing songs about whaling and stuff, I mean, I don't know anything about whaling, but like I said earlier, when you talk about the price of food going up, I can really connect with that because it's happening to me. I'm living in that experience. So I think the people that do embrace me, and I'll be very careful to draw a line between those and the people that don't. I think they like the fact that it's, like you said earlier, it's relatable, and I take the time to explain why I've written the songs. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just makes it so much more interesting, I think.
Yeah, well, definitely. And I think it's the storytelling thing. Like, I would definitely consider you as folk. I'm no authority on folk, but in my personal opinion, the way that you tell the stories, that's just everything that folk music and ballads is all about, is getting a story across. And I think that that's what you do so well, but just in a more modern context, which is important if you want to bring new people into the folk industry, which obviously we're all trying to do. We're trying to preserve it and keep it young and everything. And so I think that you should be embraced.
Yeah, I mean, when you touch on a good point there, when you say about preserving the tradition, that is really important. But I don't feel like it's the responsibility of every artist, because some people do a much better job of that than I could ever do, and therefore that's their mantle. Um, my thing is more about observing what's going on in the now, and putting a twist on that. So yeah.
Yeah. The troubadour style is a traditional style, really. It's been around for ages.
Hmm.
You're just preserving that one, I think. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's great.
yeah.
But you said that it's not often or not always accepted. And so has it been quite a hard slog to get to where you are today?
Um, no, I think you just start to figure out where you fit in and where you don't fit in. It's literally all trial and error. You just give it a try and you think, oh, well, I won't ask that type of a crowd again. Um, yeah, I mean, in the beginnings, it was quite hard. I'd go to places and they'd be like, sorry, that's not what we're looking for at all. But they were never like, no one ever said you're bad at what you do. They just said what you do doesn't fit in. So I never felt upset about it. I just felt like, oh, great, because now I know where not to go. I can use that information. Whereas it's the people that are just really negative about new music in general and try to make out like it's rubbish, but they don't. But there's no need. You just, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. Just turn it off. It's not hard. So it's a button
Yeah.
away. Like, yeah.
And how do you deal with the rejection, and how do you manage to persist and maintain the motivation? Because that's quite hard, isn't it, to be like, no, I'm not having you. You're not the style that we're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I've come into this with very. I was meant to be a filmmaker. I was meant to be a filmmaker and photographer, and that was going to be my thing. And then when I realized that didn't work, my ambition to be an artist, it's sort of like the want to be an artist continued, but the ambition to become a commercial artist kind of disappeared. So when I came into this, I had zero expectation. So for a long time, I was like, well, I don't really, if people don't like it, I don't care. Like the bit I love is being at home writing the songs, and then there's that little magical bit of time between when you write it and when you first play it, and thinking, do I have something? Don't I have something? And then you go and test it out. And that was, for me, that was the buzz in the early days for like the first 5 or 6 years. So it never really used to bother me. I just think, well, what can I do? You can't win everybody over. And also there's a big thing, like there's, what is it, like 7.5, 8 billion people on Earth. Like one person says no, they don't even qualify as a percentage. I mean, well, obviously they do, but not, like one that's really going to matter. So you just chalk it up and move on, really. It's all right, well, I'll try somewhere else. And I've been lucky, I think, and I'm on the Cambridge scene. There's a great, there used to be a great session at this pub called the Plough and Fleece, and we'd all sit around a table like a table session, and everybody would just go around and play one song, and that was like my beginning, really. And everybody was so nice to me there, and they didn't care what kind of music they played; they just wanted to sit around and make some noise together. And so I got a lot of confidence from that, because they all were like pushing me, like, Chris, you should go and try and get some shows and build it, man. And so I just had great teachers in the beginning. I had people that were very encouraging and supportive, and yeah. No one ever says any of that stuff to your face either. They might whisper it when you're not there, but I mean, if you're not going to bother to come and talk to me, like in person, I don't know if it really exists as a negative comment, to be honest. So
It's a really healthy way of looking at it, I think.
yeah.
I mean, it's just the music industry is full of rejection everywhere, in every genre. And it's so hard to be put off and think, I don't really want to do it. It just hurts my self-esteem. But the way that you've put that it's like a very small percentage, that one person means nothing in the grand scale of things. It's just a really, hopefully other people can take things from that genuinely just persevering gets you far. I mean, look at you've faced rejection, but you're getting amazing reviews from people. You've won awards, you're performing at great festivals, and it just shows that if you do persevere and ignore people who don't believe in you, you can get really far. And I think that's a great thing that you stand for, is that just hard work gets you there.
I think it's all about where you put your sense of validation as well. Like if you're going to let other people have a hand in that, then you're walking right into a lot of trouble. Whereas if you make it about things that you have some control over, like for me, I'm big on the preparation. I like to practice and I like to get it all figured out. And then when I walk into a gig, I think, well, I've done what I could do, and whatever happens now is out of my hands. So you just got to kind of figure out how to validate your experience and make sure you don't let anybody else get their hands on it, because there's some rotten people out there for sure. Yeah.
So if you had the choice of doing everything that you've done as you've done it so far, which includes hard work and persevering and all of that, or if you could have chosen to have just had it immediately handed to you, so you jump to success immediately, which one would you choose?
Oh, it's got to be the first one, the way that it's happened, because otherwise I wouldn't have the inspiration for the songs. I just I wouldn't know anything about, like, the grit. And when I first started performing, I was very nervous on stage. It was quite hard, and I love the songwriting, and I thought, I think I might like performing eventually. But at the moment, the two things are pulling away from one another, and it's like tearing me in half nearly. And I had to run that gauntlet of going up and doing it so many times just to get over that fear. And if I hadn't have had that, I don't think I would be able to cope with. I wouldn't be able to walk out in front of like a couple of hundred people and be convincing if I hadn't learned how to master like 5 people on a Tuesday night or something. Yeah. I feel like it's very important to do a bit of an apprenticeship and kind of build your way up. Yeah, I think you can. I think, well, to be honest with you, I think you see it a lot. I think you see it a lot with like young artists, perhaps not in the folk genre, because people tend to be a bit more like real. But certainly in the pop genre, you see a lot of artists, they kind of get successful very quickly, and I'm talking people that become like multi-millionaires overnight kind of thing. But then they can't handle it because they've not been on a world tour and they've not played to 50,000 people, and I really love and also every mistake I've ever made, I've been able to just sweep it under the rug and carry on as though it never happened. So there's a lot of like damage here that no one will ever see, because I've been able to just cover it up and go, all right, back to the open mics, not a problem, and just bury it all. So it's been it's been an amazing experience, for learning something from absolute scratch. It's just been so cool.
I feel like you're living proof of that thing that I was always told in school, things about never take the easy route because the hard path is always way more worth it or something. There was like loads of rhymes about always taking the harder route. I can't remember them, but I feel like you epitomize that. So it's hopefully this will inspire people who maybe are struggling to keep that momentum, but just to going. Look how far you've got, and it's amazing. And you're continuing. We're going to look a bit more after the next song about things that you've got in the future, and I think that'll just be more proof. So yeah, let's have your third song. We've already talked about it a bit. This is I'm Still in Love with You. What is this song about?
So this is a song, it's inspired by a kind of chance meeting with my first ever girlfriend, and our lives had gone in very different directions. And she'd gone off and got married and had a husband and children, and it was a big house and fancy cars, and everything's kind of gone very sort of textbook. They're like an Argos catalogue family, like you see the family, they're like kind of posing with the exercise bike and stuff. And obviously I've gone down a very kind of dossy, bohemian, artsy route. And I used to meet with them, like just coincidentally, I'd sort of see them in the local Tesco's every now and again. And every time I see them, it get harder and harder to explain what I've been up to, because by comparison, it just didn't seem like anything. And I thought, this is there's a story song in all of this, And then I went home and thought, well, you could write a story song about sort of unrequited love. And when I'm on stage, I dedicate it to all the losers. And then I said, well, I'm not going to make you put your hands up or anything. And it always gets a laugh, because I think everybody's been in that situation where they've wanted somebody and it's just not going to happen. And the sort of tricks that it plays on your mind, and thinking that it's going to work, and then be like, oh no, what's happened? And that's pretty much what it is. Like you say, it's very simple. It's quite easy to understand, but I think it's something that everybody can relate to. Another gentle cowboy song, number 101, about a girl I knew way back when. She called me up and said it's been too long, on day 10,001, and she asked me if I'm still single. Then she said that we should meet for tea. Leave your wallet, the drinks on me. There's no money in your love songs. Now I thought that this seemed strange, but it's so nice to hear her voice again. So what the hell, make mine a cappuccino. You don't need to play those games. I can tell you nothing's changed. All you need to know, I'm in in love with you. So I went down to the coffee shop, combed my hair, pulled out the stops, to see if I could win her over. She turned up about an hour late. Same old excuses, the same old traits hold. But she looked wonderful. And we talked until the sun went down. The very worst coffee in this whole damn town. Things haven't changed a bit. So caught up on catching up with you, I couldn't see the gospel truth by the diamond ring upon your finger. You don't need to play those games. I can tell you nothing's changed. All you need to know is I'm in love with you. I don't know where I went wrong. Maybe it was all along. This thing has left me broken hearted. I need to learn to let her go. I know now I'll never know what it means to have her love me. I guess it's time to make a change. Stop playing that lonely game. You'll never know that I'm in love with you. You'll never know that I'm still in love with you.
Absolutely amazing. Again, I just want to reiterate that you've written there a kind of love song, and it's not in any way cringy. At no point was I going like, oh, classic, stereotypical. It was just brilliant.
Yeah.
I think it's just brilliant. And I wonder if your first girlfriend's ever heard it.
I don't know, although I thought I saw her at a gig once. I was like, oh. But no, probably not. They're R&B fans, so they're.
Oh, very
It doesn't make
different.
it in this
I mean,
Spotify, I don't think,
remix? Could you remix it?
Yeah,
Get it into
maybe.
there.
Yeah.
Excellent. Right. Let's talk a bit more about what you've got coming up. And one of them, very exciting, you're going to be performing at Costa del Folk.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. The big. This was such an amazing show because my mum is my agent. She's kind of taken the job on a couple of years ago. I was having a bit of a lull, and I said, "Oh, I think it's all over," and that. And she said, "Well, listen, let me have a look. Let me have a try and get some gigs." I thought, "Oh, I don't know. It's my mum. It could be difficult." But then, honestly, we had all these jokes that we used to call her Colonel Mum Parker and Mum King, and had all these crazy manager names for her. But then the day that she walked into the kitchen and said, "I've got your Costa del Folk," there was no more jokes. We were not allowed to tease her anymore. She proved that she could do it, and so we're off there next year into the sun. I need to work on my tan, otherwise I'll burn. I think the minute. Yeah.
And that's in Portugal, isn't it?
Yeah, Portugal next October. Yeah, that's going to be the start of. Well, I haven't quite figured this out yet, if it's going to be the start or the finish of the tour for the next album, but it's going to be like a very pivotal gig in that run of gigs. That'll be the big one that I'll be chanking on about online for 6 months before it happens, probably. Yeah.
Oh, I want to go. If I can figure it out, I want to be in Portugal and I'll come and watch, because who doesn't want to be listening to folk in the sun?
Exactly.
Amazing.
You should just put yourself up as a singer and sing in someone's band. Like, even though you can sing, there's no point pretending. Like, put yourself out there as a session musician. I'll come.
Okay, I'll see that. So, what else have you got in store? Obviously, this tour, is that going to be all around Europe?
I'm hoping to get some European dates. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out at the moment. So if anybody sees this and knows how to help me get some European dates, drop us a line on the website. But mostly that's just going to be England, and that's going to be all the clubs I've kind of built up a reputation in over the past kind of 4 or 5 years. Yeah, so that'll be autumn winter 2022. In the meantime, I think after this one comes out, I'm going to support the Trials of Cato in Junction One in Cambridge, which is a massive one for me. Yeah, then it's just there's little bits and pieces, but obviously the world the sort of bookings and promotions world is all up on its head at the moment. A lot of the promoters are kind of like, we want to, but we don't know how it's going to work, and everybody's very nervous at the moment. So it's just a question of, well, see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah. So the tour in 2022, is that going to be your new album?
That will be, yeah. The album's called In Plain Sight, and it's going to come out sort of probably towards the end of the summer, October time, maybe, depending on how things work out. But yeah.
And where should people keep an eye out for tour dates and album information and stuff?
The best thing is to come to the website and sign up to the mailing list. It's not one of those terrible mailing lists where I'm always trying to sell you CDs and T-shirts and stuff like that. It's literally just information. And we're kind of experimenting with how we want to do that at the moment. But I think in the new year, we're probably going to make that a much more consistent and regular thing. But come over and sign up to the mailing list, because we're trying to kind of take the information away from social media and just make it more of a family and a community where we can kind of grow with the fans who are really interested and figure out what people are up for and go from there, really.
And you get a free copy of We Sing Hooray, is that right?
Exactly, yeah. If you sign up to the mailing list,
sign up.
you get the most bizarre loop station song that's ever existed. It is the only pirate recruitment shanty written on a loop station. That's my claim to fame. So, yeah.
So you have to do it, because otherwise you're missing out if you don't. Genuinely.
History in the making. Yeah. So.
Okay. And then I wanted to just look a little about, what is your overall goal? What is it that you're working towards? And in 5 years' time, what do you hope to be when people search Chris Fox or hear of Chris Fox?
Well, I'd like to get the music on some like national radio stations. I'd like to be in a position where, at the moment, it's very much like I go somewhere and maybe I play support, or maybe I like do a little audition, and then they're like, okay, we'll take you on. But what I'd love to get it to is a point where the name was sort of respected enough that gigs, like venues much further afield, I could write to them and say, listen, I've been reviewed by such and such a magazine and this has happened, and they'll book me without having to it won't be as much of a gamble for them to take me on. Because at the moment it's a gamble for people. They don't know who I am. They don't know if I'm going to cost them a load of money or, break their track record or whatever. So I want the act to be strong enough that people from much further afield can just go, we book him, let's do it. And, there's no worries about how many people are going to turn up or anything like that. It's definitely going to work. So that's that. And also I really want to play a full set of my music on Cambridge Stage 2 at the Folk Festival. That's my other ambition. It's a bit a bit simpler, but that's a big one for me as well. Get the band together, get the trio out, and go and do that. That'd be a big one for me.
I think all of those goals are extremely achievable.
Thank you.
I think that 5 years' time, that's what we're going to see. Yeah. Brilliant. Well, we are unfortunately out of time. Okay. So we're going to have one more song just to round this all up. But before we go, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to talk to you. Really great.
Thank you. No, this is a real pleasure. I'm very, I'm always happy to chat. So yeah, means a lot to me.
Brilliant. Well, this last song then is Wondering, and it's in a different setting to all your other songs. Can you tell us about this one?
A different setting, like where it's shot, or?
Yeah.
Well, it's just in the kitchen. I think if you look at the back of the video, you can see all of these see all of the accoutrement, as I call it. No, I wrote this one for, so I worked in a supermarket for, like a lot of people, when I crashed out of school at 18. I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was a while before I went back to university and got myself together, as it were. And I worked for Waitroses. Sometimes people think I'm posh. I'm not. It's just the customer service training has stayed with me. I learned how to talk about frozen vol au vents and things like that. Yeah, and I had a really good friend there, and we would always talk about just jacking it all in and going traveling together. Let's just run away. And we never made it any further than the fish and chip shop in town. But a little while back, about 2 years ago or something, that shop shut down, and now I worked there for 7 years. So it was quite strange to see it all closed up and everything. And a couple of days later, I saw that same friend, and we were chatting about the old times. And he said, "Remember, you were always trying to convince me to quit, and we were going to run away and go to Thailand and Russia and all this type of stuff." And it just got me thinking about how many people I must have tried to convince to come with me and run away. And yeah, that's pretty much what the song's all about. It's just about that. It's just about that time in your life when you leave school and you don't know what you're going to do, and you think, "Well, I may as well travel," And I actually never did. I was like an armchair traveler, and that's what the song is all about. Everything that I wished I'd done, and you never got round to. But now I've got the songwriting, so I'm complete in that way. Let's climb a mountain high for answers in the sky. Come with me, wandering. We can ride a jet plane, hop a freight train, there and back again. Let's go wandering. The horizon calls to me. Come with me to the sea. Let's go wandering. I won't tell the boss man of our plans. Don't think he'd understand. Let's go wandering. But there's nothing for me, and I'm burning through my best years. I'm gonna make a break for the railway station, buy my life a new destination. I won't be back again. But I could use a friend, so let's go wandering. We could swim the deepest blue, we take a rocket to the moon. Let's go wandering. Chase the stars across the night sky, find out where the crow flies. Let's go wandering. Just got to get away. I couldn't take another day. I'm gonna lace my boots and just start walking. You can come along and do all the talking. I'll need the best of friends, right there with me to the end. So let's go wandering. Let's climb a mountain high for answers in the sky. Would you come with me wandering? We can ride a jet plane, hop a freight train, there and back again. Let's go wandering. Come with me wandering. Let's go wandering.
Thank you very much for watching. To find out more information about our future Tuesday Folk People sessions, please sign up to our mailing list or keep an eye on our social media and website. Our next session will be a week from today at 8 p.m. See you then.